Hey, what's up, guys? Now, we've seen what's going on in the country, especially when it comes to our orange Mussolini of a president. Now, we've all heard about the $400 million jet that was gifted to our president, even though it says in the Constitution that receiving such a gift from a foreign country is violating the Emoluments Act. And this president just don't care about the Constitution, just like he don't care about the rest of us. If you're not MAGA, you don't matter to him.
Ackerman, welcome back to Mea Culpa. Great to see you, my friend. Lots to talk about. Hour goes by way too fast. Let me jump right into it.
Sure.
So, Nick, look, Trump's recently disclosed crypto investment vehicle, that organization, that LLC that's registered in the Cayman Islands, reportedly backed by Saudi sovereign wealth. It's exploded in value. My understanding on this, he's making about $1 billion a month. $1 billion, right? Given your background, what red flags does this raise in terms of international money laundering, FCPA violations, or even potential racketeering activity?
All of those flags, but it really comes down to one thing. It's simply graft. I mean, Trump is just profiting off the presidency, and he's using it as a backdoor to have foreigners be able to provide him money that they could never provide him just by giving him a bag of cash. Instead, they're buying what are really just bullshit coins that mean nothing other than to give them influence and a basis to get into Trump and put their claws into him and get favors from. It's pure and outright bribery. There's no other way to describe it. When you're selling something that is totally worthless and getting millions of dollars in return, there's only one conclusion here. It's a big bribe. I mean, it's set up for pure bribery. Couldn't be more corrupt.
I mean, it's not even millions. I'm talking about billions. In fact, just the profit in terms of the percentage for the buy and then the sale of the crypto exchange, these coins, has already netted over $150 million. But the value that he has based upon the number of coins that they have is like, I don't know, $1 billion a month in terms of increase in value. I'm blown away that this isn't even a bigger issue, that more people aren't talking about it, because, yeah, this is a massive, massive international money laundering issue. That's just how I see it.
No, you're absolutely right. That's what it is. I mean, there's nothing more to it than Trump lining his own pockets, taking advantage of the presidency so he can get as much money personally before he leaves office. That's what it's all about. I mean, this whole
Yes, it's one big grift. He's trying to line his own pockets at our expense before he leaves office. Now, there's also some Republicans that are trying to get it to where he serves a third term, even though it's illegal and the Constitution states it's illegal. No president shall serve a third term. The only exception was back at the start of World War II. Roosevelt served 3 terms, but that was also at the height of Pearl Harbor being bombed and the start of World War II. That's the only reason why FDR served 3 terms. And personally, Trump has done nothing since he's got back in the office. Nothing. except go after his political opponents, turn the DHS into his own Gestapo, and going after Harvard for stupid stuff.
The whole cryptocurrency thing is a big scam to begin with, but this is the biggest scam because these coins aren't worth shit. I mean, they aren't worth anything.
But
Nothing.
it's funny that you say that, because it says it on the website that this is not to like a normal cryptocurrency transaction, that this is basically supporting and you showing through the purchasing of these coins your affection and love for President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, totally crazy, totally corrupt. I mean, this is just money going into his pocket for no other reason than these people want to have influence. And believe me, they're not putting millions or billions of dollars into this unless they expect something in return. That's all it is. It's just a facade to be able to say that they bought something, which is completely worthless, in order to extract whatever it is they want to get from Trump, which means it's government services, something related to the government. This is such classic bribery to the thousandth degree. I mean, it just is completely off the charts. And the thing is, you probably can't be prosecuted for any of this. I mean, again, we could talk about this, but the Supreme Court has basically given him a free pass, and there's no way anyone's going to
of it. Yeah, and he's taking advantage of it. Meanwhile, talk about taking advantage. We know that the Trump organization recently secured a $2 billion golf course and hotel development deal in Abu Dhabi with a whole slew of unknown, undisclosed foreign equity partners.
Right.
Question I want to ask you. Could these ventures negotiated while, of course, Trump is president, could it constitute an ongoing violation of the Foreign Emoluments Clause or even rise to the level of self-dealing criminality?
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, clearly, I guess if you had to go back to the Supreme Court opinion, these would not be official acts. He's setting up all of these situations outside of his official duties. I mean, even in Vietnam, he's got the same thing. He's upped the tariffs on Vietnam, and they're all sucking up to him so they can bring those tariffs down. And what are they doing? They're letting him build a Trump Tower in Hanoi. Again, what Trump is doing is he's using his two sons as foils in between to keep himself out of the thing. But certainly, if you put the whole thing together and you investigated what was going on and what the true motives were here, this just reeks of criminal intent, reeks of selling government favors. And it makes you wonder, why did he put such a large tariff on Vietnam in the first place? Just so he could lower it in order to use it as leverage to be able to build a Trump Tower in Hanoi.
Wow. Meanwhile, there's evidence as well that members of Trump's inner circle, including Jared Kushner, his son Eric Trump, that they're leveraging all of these diplomatic meetings for real estate scouting trips. I mean, when Trump
Real estate scouting trips. Yeah. This is the first president in history that looks at his office as a way to get rich quick. I'm sorry, Trump has to go. He shouldn't even be in office anyway. He's a 34 count convicted felon.
Just went to the Middle East, and right, what were we really looking at? It was nothing more than a real estate scouting trip. And look, I know Trump better than anybody. I know what he's doing. My question is this just unethical grift, or could it be prosecuted under public corruption statutes?
Yeah, it could be prosecuted, but you know what the hard part here is that you have to get testimony from the people overseas, the people that are involved in this, the ones providing the money. They're not going to, allow themselves to be put into a grand jury in the United States. You'd have to wait for them to suddenly show up in the United States and serve them with a grand jury subpoena. This would be hard cases to put together. I think that once you knew all the facts, if everybody came in and testified truthfully, yeah, you'd have a case here, no question about it. I mean, you have probably a pretty serious racketeering case by the time you're finished. But the problem is getting the evidence under these circumstances where it is so spread out and it involves foreign countries.
So let me ask you this then. Let's go back to that Supreme Court decision, the one that basically gives him presidential immunity on any act so long as he, meaning Trump himself, declares it an issue of national security. I'm just trying to figure out how
or any official act. I mean, it's not just national security. It's anything. I mean, it's like the Jeffrey Clark rule. This is the guy who he tried to install as Attorney General in his last term in order that he could pull off the scam with the border, the states, the major states that were going to try to change their votes from Biden to Trump. I mean, that was a complete scam, but yet Justice Roberts said, well, because he was talking to people in the Department of Justice and because these people like Jeffrey Clark are part of his official duties, you can't get behind it. You can't prove the motive, and therefore you can't prove the criminal intent.
I mean, then how will there ever be accountability? Or do you believe, as I do, there will never be accountability for any of these emolument violations, these public corruption statute violations, for these international money laundering violations? It's basically, Trump, you understand that you cannot be prosecuted for anything that you do as it relates to any of these.
Therefore, I mean, look at the bad things, Michael. Look at just the bad things he's doing now. He's going after law firms. What does he do? He tries to make it look like an official act by using an executive order. He tries to make it an official act by having the EEOC start bogus investigations into these law firms. I mean, he has been slammed as the third law firm. Basically, the executive order was thrown out, but there's no criminal accountability because he's hiding behind official acts of what he's done. He's clothing everything he does, all of this bad stuff, whether it's going after the law firms, whether it's going after Harvard University. He's making it all look like official acts in some way with respect to Harvard and all these colleges. Again, it's these investigations that he's ordered by other agencies to make it look like this is what he can do. Again, it's the Jeffrey Clark exception to criminality, essentially. And that's what he's done. And someone's advising him to very specifically put all of this in terms of what one would consider an official act that falls right within that immunity decision. And they essentially have given him a free ride for 4 years to commit all the crimes he wants.
That is truly something. I'm going to go back to that really quick and rewind this so you guys can hear that again, because that is just jaw-dropping.
Just national security. It's anything. I mean, it's like the Jeffrey Clark rule. This is the guy who he tried to install as Attorney General in his last term in order that he could pull off the scam with the border, the states, the major states that were going to try to change their votes from Biden to Trump. I mean, that was a complete scam, but yet Justice Roberts said, well, because he was talking to people in the Department of Justice and because these people like Jeffrey Clark are part of his official duties, you can't get behind it. You can't prove the motive, and therefore you can't prove the criminal intent.
You can't prove the motive, and you can't prove criminal intent. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, then how will there ever be accountability? Or do you believe, as I do, There will never be accountability for any of these emolument violations, these public corruption statute violations, for these international money laundering violations. It's basically, Trump, you understand that you cannot be prosecuted for anything that you do as
That's
it relates to
right.
any of these.
I mean, look at
Therefore,
the bad things, Michael. Look at just the bad things he's doing now. He's going after law firms. What does he do? He tries to make it look like an official act by using an executive order. He tries to make it an official act by having the EEOC start in bogus investigations into these law firms. I mean, he has been slammed now, just the third law firm. Basically, the executive order was thrown out, but there's no criminal accountability because he's hiding behind the official acts of what he's done. He's clothing everything he does, all of this bad stuff, whether it's going after the law firms, whether it's going after Harvard University. He's making it all look like official acts in some way with respect to Harvard and all these colleges. Again, it's these investigations that he's ordered by other agencies to make it look like this is what he can do. Again, it's the Jeffrey Clark exception to criminality, essentially. And that's what he's done. And someone's advising him to very specifically put all of this in terms of what one would consider an official act that falls right within that immunity decision. And they essentially have given him a free ride for 4 years to commit all the crimes he wants.
and you know that he will.
He will, and he's been doing it. I mean, he did it also. Look at this guy, Chris Krebs and Miles Taylor, two people in his former administration that he is basically he has directed his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to open up investigations, criminal investigations on both of them. I mean, that falls squarely within the Jeffrey Clark exception under that immunity statute. Yeah. And it's totally bogus. I mean, what did, Krebs do? He basically said that the election was fair, that one of the fairest elections we've ever had in 2020. And the other guy, Taylor, all he did was basically write the anonymous opinion piece in the New York Times. And these guys are now being targeted by grand juries, which is completely outrageous. And in the day when I had been in the Watergate prosecution, we were investigating this kind of stuff that was done with Nixon's enemies list. Unfortunately, we didn't really have enough evidence on motive and intent. Here, the motive and intent is absolutely overwhelming. But according to Justice Roberts, you can't use motive. You can't get into it at all, period.
But here's the thing. While this is certainly a protection for President Trump, it's not a protection for Don Jr. It's not a protection for Eric Trump. It's not a protection for Jared Kushner or any of these others that are doing something. There was like $1 trillion made during that one day where the stock market, went up like 1,500 points in 90 seconds and then dropped down as fast in 90 seconds. But somehow these big players, many of whom, were the former CEOs of trading platforms, they all made hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, billions and billions of dollars.
Right. So what you're talking about is insider trading. And the real question comes down, what did they know? Can you prove that they knew that there was going to be this huge drop in the market after he announced all these crazy tariffs, or when he instituted them again with China, made a deal with China? I mean, did these people know about these things? And again, you're dealing with a bunch of liars. None of them are going to testify truthfully. Maybe if you had a subpoena on their emails accounts, you might be able to get some evidence of knowledge. But these are not going to be easy cases to make. I mean, you're certainly going to have exactly what you said, that they suddenly sold stock or they bought stock all at the opportune times. Then you've got to tie it up, with some other evidence to show that they actually had insider information. Yeah, and that's going to be the hard part.
I think, though, there's actually a bigger issue here than even trying to find. I don't believe that Pam Bondi or any of the other members of the Department of Justice will actually even open an investigation into it. So technically, again, it's a carte blanche by this administration to the insiders and enablers to just knock yourself out. You make as much money as you can. Remember something, though. In order for them to make, that means somebody else has to lose. And who is it that's losing? 90% of the time, it's the general public.
No question about it. No question about it. And then the question is whether you can make these people accountable.
Yeah, we are being basically thrown to the dogs in this administration. If you don't make under 50, if you don't make over 100 grand a year, you're nothing. You're lower than dirt.
And
Yeah.
that is not going to be so easy to do. But it's just like you said with this investigation. I mean, it could very well be that what Trump is trying to do is the same thing he did when he wound up in this first impeachment proceeding, just trying to get somebody to announce an investigation just to put them in the worst possible light that he can, which he tried to do with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden by getting Zelensky to say, oh, there's an investigation without there really being an investigation. I mean, look, that's kind of out of his normal playbook. He's trying to do the same thing across the boards. And, you know, you just have to expect he's going to continue with the same kind of activity.
Yeah. Well, look, then now you have on top of that the so-called big, beautiful bill, which passed the House. And I'm disgusted by so many. The fact that we could not find.
All the Republicans in Congress right now have no balls. They've basically handed everything over to Trump. They handed all their power over to Trump. Without even the thanks of a reach around.
Find four Republicans with a spine. It grants Trump near unilateral control over all federal spending that's tied to national security and infrastructure, which of course includes surveillance capabilities and other things. From a constitutional perspective, how close are we to codifying autocracy into law?
Pretty close. I mean, that bill also even does worse than that. It also gives to all of Trump's people that have been stonewalling the courts on all of these temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions. If you read that thing, they snuck this into the bill and made it not only prospective, applying forward, but it also applies backwards, which basically immunizes all of these people who essentially sent the airplanes off to El Salvador with all of the Venezuelan immigrants to that hellhole in Salvador. And yet what this does, this bill will basically say you can't hold any of these people in contempt because they didn't put up a bond or a security when the TRO or the preliminary injunction was first issued. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous, and I'm just shocked that nobody's really jumped up and down about that. It is totally a joke, because normally whenever you sue the government, you're not required to put down a bond. The whole purpose of a bond is to protect somebody who's been enjoined, and maybe later down the road, let's say it's a trade secret case, you find out that the information stolen wasn't really a trade secret case, and the bond reimburses them for any kind of damage that they incurred. But now they've tied that in to all temporary restraining orders, made it mandatory in order to have the courts be able to enforce contempt proceedings against people who violate those court orders. So there's a lot of little sneaky things in that one big, beautiful bill that are absolutely outrageous and are just designed to make Trump a dictator and to give him full power over everything.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this bill, it also authorizes a new, and I want to get it correct, Office of National Renewal, which has like this sweeping power to bypass agency review. I mean, I couldn't believe it as I was going through. I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Isn't that just a rebranded version of a enforcement agency? I mean, could a future DOJ dismantle it, or would the courts need to intervene and fast?
Yeah, I look, it's basically taking DOJ and making it a permanent federal agency. I mean, it's the same thing. It gives them the same kind of power. And somebody in Congress has got to wake up to this. I mean, the problem is, what is the Senate going to do? And is anybody there going to look at all these fine details? I mean, it's a 1,000-page bill chock full of all kinds of bullshit and stuff that Trump has put in there simply to make him a more powerful autocrat. That's what they're trying to do.
No, I think it's more like that's what they actually are accomplishing. And since this affair bromance between Trump and Vladimir Putin, somebody even needs to explain this to me, which I never thought I would see, what's going on back and forth. One day he's talking about Putin is just showing strength after a massive missile attack on Ukraine. Now, all of a sudden, he's saying, Putin's gone crazy after the latest missile strike on Kiev, where, dozens of people were killed. This is both, in my opinion, morally revolting, but it's also geopolitically reckless.
Totally reckless. Putin is playing this guy like a fiddle. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that Trump wants to just walk away from this unless Trump can get a quick victory, a quick settlement. He doesn't want anything to do with this. And that's what Putin is banking on, that Trump is just going to walk away from that and let them fight it out, as Trump would say. And that's really the question. And that was in the Wall Street Journal editorial this morning, whether or not Trump was actually going to do something to force Putin's hand or just walk away. And if he just walks away, that's exactly what Putin wants. The people in the Kremlin know exactly what they're doing. They know what this guy's personality is like. They know how he does things. And everything they've said, everything they've done plays directly into a strategy to get this guy to just walk away and leave Ukraine by itself, which is an absolute outrage. If people thought what Joe Biden did with Afghanistan was bad, this would be absolutely the worst thing that could possibly happen. It's right in Europe. It's going to affect Poland. It's going to affect NATO. And it's also going to affect China, who's going to say, hey, if he's not going to do anything in Europe, then why should we be worried about walking into Taiwan? It's absolutely huge ramifications for our foreign policy going forward. And this guy is just absolutely the worst person to be dealing with this by far.
Look, so in the past, it's not just that he was praising Putin. He's also suggested, and again, I'm speaking in the past because on a Tuesday, he could be praising Putin. On a Wednesday, meaning Trump could be attacking Putin, calling him crazy. On a Friday, the bromance could be back. But he has suggested in the past that Ukraine brought this war on themselves. I don't understand it, but again, that Ukraine brought this on themselves.
I said that Ukraine started the war.
Right.
I mean, that's the most absurd thing. That's like in a totally different universe.
But this episode of Mea Culpa is brought to you by Graza, my new favorite olive oil. It's fresh, it's never blended, and it comes from a single type of olive, the Picual, straight out of Jaén, Spain, where over half of the world's olive oil is produced. So Graza, single origin goodness, that's why. Only one olive from one region. No mysterious blends. That means a traceable, a fresher product without mixing in any low grade or unknown oils. It's super fun. It has squeeze and spray bottles too. So there's no more messy tins or drippy spouts. Just aim, squeeze, and go.
Hey,
There are
Bubba,
3 types for any test that you have.
what you've missed so far is they're breaking down the big, beautiful bill. And I can go back if you want to show you what's exactly in the big, beautiful bill, what we're not being told.
I think I'll go with just going at it by the seat of my pants right now. So,
Okay.
have. One, they have something called Frizzle. That's the new. It smells delicious. .co.
Without other people present. I think maybe his
Right.
wife was present for one of them. He even had the interpreter that was present rip up her notes and basically told her she couldn't talk to anybody about it. So that's going to be a pretty hard case to make. You know, whether Trump is just a useful idiot or actually involved in espionage, I don't think we're ever going to know that until ultimately we get the same thing that happened in the Kremlin a number of years ago, where there was essentially a coup and the new government came in, and we found out that Al-Jarhis, was really a Russian spy.
Right.
I don't think we're going to find out any of that unless we can get into the Russian files.
Could you imagine that we're even engaging in this type of a fucking conversation? I mean, we're talking
It's
about
nuts.
the president of the United States and a guy who I cared for deeply, I protected, I worked for a decade and a half. I'm actually in my mind, as I was preparing questions to ask you, I'm saying to myself, if we had a legit DOJ, one that really cared about America, our Constitution, our rule of law, would they not be subpoenaing Trump's communications, whether it's on his cell phone or whether or not it's emails that other people in the we'll call it the Trump sphere, are talking and saying about what's going on with Ukraine and so on? Because I guarantee you, the way that these idiots, and there's no other way to put it, right? The way they use shit on Signal or on emails, understanding that once you put an email out there, even if they claim that, oh yeah, it's not there anymore, it's disappeared, it's been wiped out, that's bullshit. You can always find it. If you had the DOJ, if you had a Pam Bondi, making the demand for it, trust me, it would show up. But we're talking about the United States potentially involved in Logan Act or Espionage Act type of activities. I can't believe what's going on in this country anymore.
Yeah, look, it kind of happened with Nixon a little bit. We didn't really know what the story was when he was running for president in '68. He had somebody act as an intermediary with the South Vietnamese government to keep them from settling that war, because he was concerned that if it was settled, that Hubert Humphrey would have won the election. Mm-hmm. And Johnson knew about it. Others knew about it. And it never really came out until a few years ago when H.R. Haldeman, who is Nixon's chief aide, his notes came out, and it showed that he was actually interfering. It was a violation of the Logan Act, no question about it. Certainly in the Watergate, we never knew about it. I never found out about this until it came out in the New York Times. So it's not like it's been unprecedented. But with this guy, whatever Nixon did, this guy did 100 times more. It's just not even close. This is Watergate on steroids in the first administration, and now it's gone way beyond that. Absolutely. You're 100% right. The real problem here where we're falling down is that there are no checks and balances. The only check we've got on this guy are the courts. And he's trying to undermine that now as much as he can through this one big, beautiful bill, through going after judges and trying to put them into some kind of disrepute. And you don't have the normal checks and balances here. That's what we're missing. He's even trying to get rid of the independent agencies that normally check and balance the president. So that's where we're really finding ourselves slipping is that we're getting out of what would normally be an atmosphere out there with checks and balances on the president. It even includes the press, for God's sakes. I mean, when you got the Washington Post that's owned by a guy that's got a whole conglomerate that's dependent on the U.S. government, he's pulling his punches. He's sucking up to Trump. You got the LA Times doing the same thing.
Sure.
So you even and then you've got the press like CBS News. Trump sues them on this bullshit claim about Kamala Harris's interview on 60 Minutes, that they somehow did something with the transcript of that to make her look better. It's a total bullshit case, but yet you've got Paramount trying to settle this case for real money when it's a completely frivolous bullshit case that ought to be thrown out because they want to get approval from the federal government to be able to sell their company to somebody else. They're trying to get approval for a merger. So all of this is just corruption up the wazoo is all I can say. Never anything like this before. And what it's done is it's eroded our checks and balances, which has really been the key to our Constitution and the key to the way our government works.
You know, you made a statement that what he's...
Your thoughts, brother?
Did you pause the video?
Yeah. I wanted to get your thoughts.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to take care of pop that just started fucking showing up on my computer. Okay. Yeah, I haven't turned on my computer in like a week, so some pop-ups are taking a while to pick up. The lawyerly looking man with a tie.
He was the prosecutor, one of the prosecutors in the Watergate scandal back in the 70s.
Okay, that must have been when he was at the peak of his power when he was a young man, because now he is insanely old.
Yeah.
But he does make the choice, or he does make the proper shout out that there are checks and balances in the Constitution about presidential powers that Trump doesn't give a fuck about. He's going to throw all of every time he fills up the pot with something, he just throw the whole thing up at the wall and see what sticks and what doesn't. And if you don't have people in appropriate positions that are for the country instead of paying filthy to him, we'd be fucked.
Yeah, and well, earlier in the interview, one of the things in this big, beautiful bill is to give Trump complete access to the, I guess, to the the funding for the national security.
Trump wants to be in charge of everything. He wants his administration to control everything, kind of like 1920s and 30s Nazi Germany.
Yeah,
because he like right now. I was listening to a few videos earlier about people who are like, "Why are we going through this? Why is he being so horrible?" Because he loves control. He wants to control the narrative. That's why NPR and PBS, why they're under attack from him, because he's trying to defund them now, even though the federal funding for both NPR and PBS drops. The funding from the federal government drops in the bucket for those two organizations. If Trump doesn't like it or doesn't agree with it, it shouldn't be out there. That's where the checks and balances come in. And when the guy with glasses is saying, "Well, I don't recognize this country," you're not supposed to recognize it. Your grandparents could have recognized it in a heartbeat. And that's why they went to war in World War II. To defend against this kind of stupidity. And why hasn't Trump been deposed? Nobody's got the backbone or the balls to take him on because, well, his constituency loves him. His constituency is a bunch of white, racist, conservative, Christian people. and a lot of them live in the South.
Yeah, the guy with the guy with the
Educate some people.
Yeah, the guy with the glasses is actually Michael Cohen. The one that Trump has been going after for years.
He hasn't been going after him for years. Damn, you're like a wrestling fan, man. You forget the context. He's only been when Michael Cohen turned on Trump. That's when Donald Trump started going after him. Oh, he's not a very good lawyer. I don't really know him, dude. He's been your employee for how many fucking decades?
Yeah, because
were they working together?
10. They've been working for 10 years together.
Longer than that.
He says he's known him and protected him for 10 years.
It's been more than 10 years. I'm just stating a fact. He's said it on TV that he spent like 15 or 20 years working with the Trump organization. I'm sorry, that means he's worked with Trump, because Trump's been in charge of the Trump organization for more than 30 years.
Yeah.
So when he says, "Oh, I don't recognize America anymore," this is what America bought. This is what we're paying for. You know?
Yeah.
You can continue with the video.
What's going on right now is so much worse than Watergate. It's not the first time that I'm hearing the comparison to Watergate, and I'm thankful to have you on Mea Culpa as somebody who was so close to that. You know, I want to bring up for a quick second the end of, I shouldn't even say the end. They say maybe the last year to year and a half of the Biden administration, where Trump is making all of these allegations that everything was done via auto pen, that Biden didn't even know what was going on, that Biden didn't even know who the hell he was. Jake Tapper comes out with a book. And I've never seen, never, ever, and I've written 2 New York Times bestsellers, number 1 and number 8. I have never.
Now, have you read any of the reviews on the new book?
No, not yet.
I have actually read some. There are several people who are now defaming John Tapper.
Yeah.
For such they're dissing the book, Original Sin.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with everybody discounting John Tapper is it sounds like they're trying to change the narrative because, he's got cancer. He's got cancer. That's a now fact.
Yeah.
The facts in the book are from when he was president, and you really need to look up the details of the book.
Okay.
I listened to the book already. I've read through the entire thing. Like, I listened to it all. I got Audible, and I pre-ordered it. And I listened to it in 2 days. And it tells me exactly what I was telling everybody else about Joe Biden. So this whole crap of, Joe Biden, we already know all this crap, but Joe Biden was a passing evil we didn't have to worry about. Trump is an evil we have to worry about now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So keep playing.
Yeah,
I just want to throw that in.
Seen more shameless promotion by an individual than fucking Jake Tapper, right? And CNN promoting the shit out of it, even allowing Tapper to go on MSNBC and other stations, where he claims in his book that Biden's auto pen scandal, which Trump brought up, is so much worse than Watergate. I was curious from a guy that was there in that room.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous. All presidents have used the auto pen. I mean, they just do unless they're signing something in public. That is the biggest bullshit I've ever seen. When you come right down to it with this whole thing about Biden, there's 2 pieces of this. One, he was kind of losing it in terms of being able to be an effective campaigner. He wasn't losing it in terms of being president. He was able to carry out his duties. He was able to perform his duties the way one would expect him to perform. But as we saw in that debate where he kind of lost it, he was not a forceful campaigner. He was losing his voice. He was losing his ability to stand up and really be as aggressive as you would want somebody to be in a presidential campaign. So you kind of have to divide it between those two things. I don't think anybody can say he was doing a bad job as president or.
Go ahead.
Joe Biden didn't only fail at that debate. Do you remember we talked right after that debate?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, as it went off all the press ended, you remember we got on the phone to each other?
Yeah.
Did either one of us say he won that?
No.
What did we both say?
Like, my God, what kind of dumpster fire inside of a train wreck with a nuclear bomb did we just watch?
Yeah, because Biden didn't win and Trump didn't win. They're both claiming they won, but who really lost in that debate?
We did.
Yeah, all of America. And now we're paying for it. I just wanted to point that out because, the book examines the shit out of the debate and points out everything that you and I went over right after the debate. I mean, it literally goes in full detail on what. And just as an aside joke, did you read the thing underneath my name?
No, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Oh, it's funny as hell. It was written there as a joke.
Now, I wanted to ask you: have you heard about the ICE raids in, I believe it was San Diego, where ICE officers went into this restaurant and basically detained everybody?
Yeah, there's a video up on it on YouTube and TikTok right now. Just like there's a video on TikTok and YouTube of them going into Nadler's office.
Yeah.
And trying to detain everybody. And there's an area that those ICE officers are not allowed into. And they tried saying, we're allowed to go wherever the fuck we want, period. And the secretary's like, no, you can't come in here. Unless you're the president of the United States, you cannot come in here. I can do whatever the hell I want, ma'am. And right at that moment, I'm like, wow. Kristi Noem said they could do whatever the fuck they wanted, go wherever the fuck they wanted. How about we go to Trump Hotel and dress down every fucking staff member? Just do an ICE visit there. How much of their staff would disappear right then?
Yeah. Yeah, just like a gentleman on the Midas Touch Network stated earlier, ICE is Kristi Noem's personal Gestapo.
No, she's turned it into a personal Gestapo because they serve at the will of the president. I mean, she can't get rid of ICE because the president can't. They can strip it of every.
You now have ICE agents setting up migrants when they come in for their check-in for their immigration court. One of Kristi Noem's little lawyers will tell the judge that they're dismissing or rescheduling the hearing. As soon as the judge lets the immigrant go, they are arrested by ICE right outside the courtroom.
Until their papers are signed and stamped and everything, they can do that.
Yeah, and I watched.
You didn't know that, right?
Yeah, I watched an interview last night with it was with Stephen Miller, and Stephen Miller stated that habeas corpus, they are looking for a way to suspend habeas corpus for people who were not born here.
Habeas corpus exists for that very reason, and they can't do that without an act of Congress.
Yeah, I know.
But Trump thinks Trump isn't trying to He's not trying to test Congress. He's trying to push it. He's trying to push his big ass around.
No, just like Mike Johnson said in an interview, that that Congress or the MAGA Republicans are basically seceding power to Trump.
Yeah, well, that's the bitch of it. Is like we need. I think the country needs a better leader.
Yeah,
obviously a better leader than Trump, but we need a better leader. And we should nobody's popped out of the woodwork. The one person who's working the one person who's working behind the scenes the most right now is Pete Buttigieg. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Trump is so terrified that the Democrats are going to take back the House next year because he knows that there's going to be impeachment inquiries launched, that he's saying in his rallies that the Democrats must not take back control of the House, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen.
Why do you think they're tightening voting restrictions, mail-in ballots, all that crap?
Yeah.
They're trying to make it so that only white conservative Christian people who are somewhat educated but easily manipulated to be the only ones voting.
And you see this one senator, Joni Ernst, she's being attacked because of a comment that she made at one of her town halls. Somebody stated, if you cut off Medicaid, if you cut off health care, we're all going to die. And then she turned around and says, you know what? Put that on a bumper sticker. She says, as a matter of fact, she goes, yes, we're all going to die.
It's not completely untrue, considering a better part of the voting population that voted for Trump is now on Medicaid or Medicare.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Deuces and roll video, I guess.
Didn't know what he was doing.
Well,
Yeah,
that's not
that's
not what Trump is saying, Nick. That's not what Trump is saying. What he's saying is that Biden didn't do anything, and that everything that was done was not done even with the president's authorization or knowledge, claiming again that Joe Biden was basically mentally unfit to remain in office. He should have stepped down or been removed, and that Kamala Harris should have taken over, and that every single executive act that was done, every bill that was passed, every document that was signed was done without Joe Biden's knowledge and all done via the auto pen. That's the claim. And Tapper actually affirms that.
Yeah, he affirms it, but there were lots of other people who had lots of conversations with Joe Biden, all straight through about governing, about bills that were pending before Congress. I just don't think that's right. I think you really have to divide it between two aspects of what a president does. One, campaigning, and two, governing. Governing, he was perfectly fine. He did a good job. You had people coming back with conversations with him right up almost until the time he decided to step down, who were saying that he knew what he was doing and he was in charge of things. The problem was he could not campaign. If this had been back in the 1830s or 1840s, when a president just sat in his porch and let other people do the campaigning and not be on television, which of course there was no television then, and it wasn't as much hands-on as it is now, it would have been a whole different story. He probably would have been reelected. But we're in a totally different world. This was not like Woodrow Wilson, who was absolutely sick, couldn't do a thing, and his wife was basically the president for his last days in office. Not that situation. I mean, he was out there, he was doing things. It's a question of how you put the spin on the facts that he was getting. And you can always, with somebody older, you can find instances where they have a little lapse of memory. They're not as sharp as they used to be. But that, to me, really goes to being a good campaigner. I mean, look at the contrast between the way Kamala Harris was campaigning and the way Joe Biden was. He just wasn't, even if he had been on the top of his game, in a sense, during that debate, he wasn't going for the jugular against Trump like Kamala Harris did when she was debating against him.
Right.
That's where he fell down, and that's where his problem was, and that's how it ought to be viewed.
Because what the book really makes a claim is that this inner circle of Biden, and I have my own personal animus, to them, where I would like to see, believe it or not, the DOJ actually investigate their actions, or I should say their inactions. As I filed myself, and I know several other people who did as well, high-profile individuals who filed applications for pardons. Well, I'm curious how having 7 letters of recommendation from 7 key individuals in history, yourself being one of them, not even a response. Yet this inner circle thought it smart or the right thing to do to pardon Biden's entire family, who didn't even have an application in. And so, I believe that they were doing that. I truly do. I believe that they were keeping information from Biden because those last, let's just say, 6 months or 3 or 4 months, he did not appear to be good. He had moments of clarity, but I believe that they actually were running a shadow government using the auto pen. I truly do, because I can't imagine again how having my application with all the facts, testifying before 7 congressional, I never avoided a congressional subpoena. I appeared, I testified. I did that in a civil suit, in a grand jury suit. I testified before 2 grand juries, a criminal and a civil. I never did anything. And no restitution owed, no anything, first-time offender. You're really going to tell me that after everything that I didn't even deserve a response? Not even a response.
Well, let me just push back on that a little bit. First of all, I'm not so sure that any president or even the pardon office gives a response as to what their ultimate resolution was or what they're doing. One of the things I was always concerned about your situation was that kind of the political toxicity of the whole thing could have been viewed that way by the president, by others. That is the reason why they didn't give you the pardon, even though you deserve the pardon. And I always thought there was going to be an issue there, just politically, and even to give a response, they'd be afraid to give a response that was written that somehow could be used. As to his family, clearly on Hunter Biden, I think Joe Biden, although he didn't express it this way, I think the real concern was that he was convicted on the tax situation. He could have very well wound up with prison time. And if he did, he would have been serving prison time in Trump's Bureau of Prison while Trump was president. Trump could have done the same thing that he did to you, putting him in solitary confinement. He could have made his life absolutely miserable, unlike any normal inmate that might be serving
like what they did to me.
Now, hold on a second.
Exactly. And so, to me, the real reason why that pardon was justified was because why would anybody ever want to put their son in a position where Trump?
But I'm a son of America, right? And he's supposed to be my president.
Hold on a second.
Right.
But you see,
but he was looking at you because of the book you were writing, right?
Well, right.
He was looking.
Look,
right? That's
sure, but let me say it this way, right? I truly don't believe that the inner circle actually discussed it with Biden. I don't, and I'd like to just find out if I'm right or I'm wrong. And I say this because Biden is not feckless.
Pause this for a minute.
He
Bob.
never was.
Now, we're talking about Joe Biden's son as being some weird criminal, and how he suffers under the Trump administration without the pardon.
Yeah.
What I'm still trying to figure out is what's this Joe Biden crime family bullshit? I still cannot figure that out. and I've paid attention to a lot of different podcasts that try to explain it. Nobody's explaining how they're a crime family.
Uh, According to the MAGA Republicans, they are a crime family because supposedly they have like a whole bunch of different LLCs that they were gaining money off of. Now, mind you, this was like towards the end of the Obama presidency, that Joe Biden's brother and Hunter had like 50 some odd LLCs, and they were getting like donations from, like, say, like China and and Russia and some other things. But the MAGA Republicans, especially James Comer, in the oversight hearings, were terming it as the Biden crime family, even though Biden has stated that he had nothing to do with what his son Hunter and his brother James were doing.
Okay, and now on a related note to that, because they're trying to make the whole family a bunch of mafioso style criminals, right?
Yes.
At least the conservative right wingers are. Now, with that in mind, John Tapper described the infamous laptop, right?
Yeah, the laptop from hell.
And saying that they had plenty of evidence, they had mountains of evidence against Hunter Biden, right?
Yeah.
So why wasn't it used?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, all this shit about we're gonna drop the Kraken on everybody with this laptop. Literally, they've been through it. Everybody's been through that damn laptop. If there's that much evidence, why didn't they have Hunter Biden nailed to a cross?
Yeah.
For all that evidence, for all this explicit material that describes all this fraudulent crap and whatever else they're claiming he did, with all that evidence, only a presidential pardon would have gotten him off the hook for the whole thing. Was he ever convicted of anything that was on that laptop? Ever?
No.
So then, if there's
He did nothing wrong.
If there's nothing to convict on, then them clamoring about this fucking laptop and how much dirt's on it. Why was he never charged with any singular thing, or even multiple singular things? When they went after him, they didn't bring a single charge against him. The only thing they have charges against him on,
the gun charge,
now, is the whole Burisma thing, which they couldn't actually prove, and then his use of drugs while applying for a gun application. Those are the only two things. They have nothing to do with a laptop.
Yeah.
And even the Burisma thing was bullshit. So why would they bring up the laptop? Keep slapping their hand. Well, he did this. It's all there. All the trash is there. Why wouldn't they have charged him? Because I get it. As Joe Biden, as soon as he read everything, yeah, give him a pardon. I get that father thing.
Yeah.
But he didn't make any actions towards that. He didn't pardon his son as soon as they started talking about a laptop and everybody started talking about releasing the Kraken and killing the Biden crime family. Nothing happened with that. So when they're going after Hunter and saying, "Oh, he was such a bad guy," okay, then why does he only have 2 charges against him? If that laptop was loaded with that much information and that much dirty laundry, why not air it all and make sure he can't do anything? That way, you force Joe Biden's hand to give his son a presidential pardon. He only gave his son a presidential pardon and his family a presidential pardon when he was about to leave office.
Yeah.
And no other time did he talk about it.
Yeah. And the Republicans drug Tony Bobulinski in for a committee hearing. Well, we all seen where that went. That went absolutely fucking nowhere. And they were trying to freaking label Joe as the big guy, save 10% for the big guy. Where'd that go? That went nowhere.
That's what I don't get is they went after Joe Biden. They couldn't find anything on him, and then with the classified documents that they found in the lower basement bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, they found it.
They found more than just the lower basement bathroom.
I know.
Yeah, he had documents everywhere.
But my point is, they found it. He said he didn't have to give it up. And this is before he was elected president again. They found all kinds of documents, and he refused to try to turn it over. This is why he mysteriously all of a sudden had to go visit somewhere else when the feds came to collect the documents. Now, Joe Biden, on the other hand, and the book points this out too. That's why I really say you should give it a listen. Go to Audible.
Yeah.
And get that book and listen to the entire thing. Oh, excuse me. What's interesting is how they both treated it, because when Joe Biden was found to have a page or two of classified documentation.
Yeah.
He had almost nothing. But what did he do as soon as he found that shit?
He got a hold of he got a hold of the archives. Said, "Here you go."
Yeah, he gave it away freely. He's like, here you go. I'm sorry, I didn't know I had this, or somebody must have done something. Here it is. He didn't withhold it, claiming he had a right to it. That's where I think the distinction is because Trump thought he had a right to everything and still thinks he has a right to everything. Mm-hmm. Whereas Joe Biden, when he found an incident of a classified document, follow me behind a desk, in the trunk of his car, whatever the fuck it was, he didn't say, well, you shouldn't be right there. Instead, what did he say?
Here you go.
Have at it. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Yeah,
admitted that he should have turned it in, but he didn't know where it was. At his age, I wouldn't expect him to remember everything. But he willingly gave those documents over without even thinking about it. He's like, oh, well, shit, this belongs to you guys, not to me. Bye. Have at it. Do whatever you want to with it.
Yeah.
And Trump is like, no, this is my personal stuff. No, it's not. And that's where the culpability is. Joe admitted culpability. Oh, here you are. Dude, how do you prosecute a guy who hands you shit when he doesn't know he has it? I mean,
it was in his garage. It was in his garage next to his freaking Corvette.
Yeah, and then he hands it over. He doesn't fight. He's like, oh, here, take it. Don't care. Do whatever. But Trump's like, no, you can't have that. I will get my lawyers to sue you. You're suing the federal government over things that aren't yours to keep. And not just one or two folders, boxes of these documents.
In the ballroom, in the bathroom.
Yeah, and that's culpability and responsibility. Joe accepted culpability. If they had charged him with a crime, they would have had to do worse with Trump because Trump tried to keep the fucking things. And why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
They were afraid of Trump.
Yep. And it said you have on Fox News, oh, the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, this is it's a disaster for our leader.
Oh yeah, it would. He was unjustly fucking searched. No, he wasn't. He was legally searched. How many warnings did they give him that they were going to come and take the documents and he needed to hand them over?
Quite a few warnings, and then he decided to go to play golf at Bedminster.
Yeah, to avoid prosecution. It looks worse when you're the one. You can't take this. This is mine. Dude, they don't belong to you. You were the president. They belong in an archive. No, they don't. That should tell you something about his character. The Fanta-fascist wants to keep everything. That way nobody has evidence of anything. And true, while I may be a never Trumper, at least I have the brain power to admit that Joe Biden should not have run again like he promised he wouldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, if he had handed the reins over to Kamala Harris straight off and she'd have run the full campaign like she was supposed to,
yeah,
You know how fucking lopsided that victory would have been?
Oh yeah.
Like, you're talking, you talk about Trump talking about a landslide victory. Dude, 11 million people decided not to vote, or their votes were converted to you. Because no, I don't trust Starlink, which is owned by Elon Musk, which is what they
Yeah.
used for the election.
Yeah. I honestly feel that the 11 million votes were suppressed.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I can't disagree with you on that due to my logical nature, and you know that. I have to
Yeah.
submit that Starlink fucked people over because during that election, when Starlink was taking the votes,
Yeah.
there are certain areas where Kamala had a certain percentage, and then she tanked. And there has been, I don't know how many content creators there were on TikTok and YouTube that point out these things. They had images, graphs, all this other crap. I'm not saying that that it was all true, but it does make sense. You get the world's richest man who owns all these companies, which are government contracted, and then when he's a pro-Trumper, he's already standing behind somebody in the running for the top of the government, and he's the one in control of these systems, controlling the voting.
Yeah.
How does that not smack of corruption?
Just Trump's speech that he did. Yeah, they rigged the election. Yeah, and how he sent Elon Musk to Pennsylvania, and he knows a lot about computers and those lovely computers. And I'm here now, and they rigged the election.
What, Trump was claiming that they rigged the election?
Yeah, he even stated that in a fucking Oval Office interview.
Oh, you mean that he stole the election? That he had the election? He had the election rigged for him?
Yeah, he said they. He didn't say himself. He said they rigged the election.
Yeah, so he could win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the White House video, and you've seen my video that I put on TikTok, and I tried to put it on YouTube, and YouTube blocked it. And if I remember correctly, I think TikTok blocked it now because they don't want anybody saying that it was rigged, when in fact the evidence is all there that it was rigged.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that pisses me off the most, is social media is being complicit because it's run by billionaire tech moguls who they stand to make a shitload of money while Trump is still in office. They stand to make
here's the thing. Yeah, and here's the thing with that though too. You remember when the stock market for like 90 seconds like rose really quick and then dropped really quick?
Yeah.
There was people that made trillions of fucking dollars that day.
Yeah.
Somebody manipulated the fucking market to where it would spike. They would get a whole lot of money before it dropped.
Okay. Now, speaking of markets, we're going to get into that one real quick, just as an aside, because I'm not controlling this. You are. I'm just throwing in extra stuff for you for context. Now, you remember how Tesla stock has been plummeting since January, right?
Yes.
When Trump got inaugurated, Tesla stock started to plummet.
Yeah.
If I had invested an entire paycheck on buying Tesla stock as a short, I bet the company to lose. And then, what is it, a month and a half ago? Mm-hmm. I would have pulled out of that. I would have sold my shorts off of roughly, what is it, $1,200?
Mm-hmm.
If I invested $1,200 then on Tesla stock shorts, do you know how much? You know how rich I would be right now?
How rich?
I would have over $80 million in my pocket.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's worse is you saw my podcast. I told everybody what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I told you what was going to happen to Tesla's stock, didn't I?
Yeah.
Now, if I invested in that idea, dude, I wouldn't even be living here. I'd be waiting for a house to be built or something. $84 million? Yeah. I wouldn't be living here. I'd be staying in a hotel, hiring the best fucking framing crew to build my house. No expense spared. You bend a nail, replace it with a new one, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't. That's the one mistake I made, is not betting against Tesla stock, which I should have. There are 3 people on the planet who bet on Tesla stock shorts,
Mm-hmm.
and they were multimillionaires. They're no longer millionaires.
Wow.
Guess what they are?
What?
Billionaires.
Oh shit.
One of the guys is one of the people who invested on Tesla shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Is now worth $15 billion. He dumped 1.5 million into Tesla stock shorts. Paid off like a motherfucker.
Wow.
And yes, I admit I should have invested in Tesla stock shorts, but I'm a poor ass Kansas boy. So if I had the money to buy even a couple of 100 cents of stocks, I would have. Are we going to continue this then?
Yeah, I wanted to show you something real quick. Let me find it.
Trying to do the same thing across the boards. And, you just have to expect he's going to continue with the same kind of activity.
Yeah. Well, look, then now you have on top of that the so-called big, beautiful bill, which passed the House. And I'm disgusted by so many. The fact that we could not find four Republicans with a spine. It basically grants Trump near unilateral control over all federal spending that's tied to national security and infrastructure, which of course includes surveillance capabilities and other things. From a constitutional perspective, how close are we to codifying autocracy into law?
Pretty close. I mean, that bill also even does worse than that. It also gives immunity to all of Trump's people that have been stonewalling the courts on all of these temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions. If you read that thing, they snuck this into the bill and made it not only prospective, applying forward, but it also applies backwards, which basically immunizes all of these people who essentially sent the airplanes off to El Salvador with all of the Venezuelan immigrants onto that hellhole in Salvador. And yet what this does, this bill will basically say you can't hold any of these people in contempt because they didn't put up a bond or a security when the TRO or the preliminary injunction was first issued. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous, and I'm just shocked that nobody's really jumped up and down about that. It is totally a joke, because normally whenever you sue the government, you're not required to put down a bond. The whole purpose of a bond is to protect somebody who's been enjoined, and maybe later down the road, let's say it's a trade secret case, you find out that the information stolen wasn't really a trade secret case, and the bond reimburses them for any kind of damage that they incurred. But now they've tied that in to all temporary restraining orders, made it mandatory in order to have the courts be able to enforce contempt proceedings against people who violate those court orders. So there's a lot of little sneaky things in that one big, beautiful bill that are absolutely outrageous and are just designed to make Trump a dictator and to give him full power over everything.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this bill, it also authorizes a new, and I want to get it correct, Office of National Renewal, which has like this sweeping power to bypass agency review. I mean, I couldn't believe it. As I was going through, I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Isn't that
Yeah.
just a rebranded version of a political enforcement agency? I mean, could a future DOJ dismantle it, or would the courts need to intervene and fast?
Yeah, I look, it's basically taking Doge and making it a permanent federal agency. I mean, it's the same thing. It gives them the same kind of power. And somebody in Congress has got to wake up to this. I mean, the problem is, what is the Senate going to do? And is anybody there going to look at all these fine details? I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It's a 1,000-page bill, chock full of all kinds of bullshit and stuff that Trump has put in there simply to make him a more powerful autocrat. That's what they're trying to do.
No, I think it's more like that's what they actually are accomplishing. And since we're talking about autocrats, this on and off love affair, bromance between Trump and Vladimir Putin, somebody even needs to explain this to me, which I never thought I would see, what's going on back and forth. One day he's talking about Putin is just showing strength after a massive missile attack on Ukraine. Now all of a sudden he's saying, Putin's gone crazy after the latest missile strike on Kiev, where, dozens of people were killed. This is both, in my opinion, morally revolting, but it's also geopolitically reckless.
Totally reckless. Putin is playing this guy like a fiddle. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that Trump wants to just walk away from this unless Trump can get a quick victory, a quick settlement. He doesn't want anything to do with this. And that's what Putin is banking on, that Trump is just going to walk away from that and let them fight it out, as Trump would say.
And Trump's already trying.
And that's really the question. And that was in the Wall Street Journal editorial this morning, whether or not Trump was actually going to do something to force Putin's hand or just walk away. And if he just walks away, that's exactly what Putin wants. The people in the Kremlin know exactly what they're doing. They know what this guy's personality is like. They know how he does things. And everything they've said, everything they've done plays directly into a strategy to get this guy to just walk away and leave Ukraine by itself, which is an absolute outrage. If people thought what Joe Biden did with Afghanistan was bad, this would be absolutely the worst thing that could possibly happen. It's right in Europe. It's going to affect Poland. It's going to affect NATO. And it's also going to affect China, who's going to say, hey, if he's not going to do anything in Europe, then why should we be worried about walking into Taiwan? I mean, this has absolutely huge ramifications for our foreign policy going forward. And this guy is just absolutely the worst person to be dealing with this by far.
Look, so in the past,
investigation was even more outrageous because what Trump was doing was basically telling Manafort, who had been convicted of a whole series of crimes and was sentenced to prison, basically saying, you better not cooperate. And if you don't cooperate, you'll be getting a pardon. That's essentially what he told him. I mean, that is the most outrageous use of the pardon power to essentially justice. Now, with respect to all of these other pardons he's doing, including another guy who was just convicted of tax fraud and was about to serve prison. That's another one that was pardoned. I mean, these are all transactional. These were
Yes, they are.
Try to appeal to Trump because they were victims of the system in some way, even though they admitted to cheating on their taxes. And not to mention all of those people from the January 6th convictions. I mean, some of them convicted of extremely serious felonies, serving major time. He just pardoned all of them. I mean, to me, that was a complete admission of guilt on Trump's behalf. But the only reason he pardoned these people was because they were all his co-conspirators.
Look, you got to give the guy a lot of credit because he don't give a shit about anything, right? It's wrong. What he's doing is wrong, but
Did you pause it?
So, what do you think?
I think that they're I think they're on the right track. I'm not saying that they're
Now,
not. What?
okay, go, I was good. What about the shit that's in the big beautiful bill?
As far as I can tell, the big beautiful bill is meant to give all of them plausible deniability, or to let them get away with having let them go without having culpability. I mean, these guys are explaining it better than I ever could. But yeah, I mean, if you're taking away the ability to charge the people who are doing these heinous acts, then who do they answer to? They don't want anybody to answer to. They figured that by standing by Trump and by clinging on to him so hard, they can avoid prosecution, which the bill apparently does give them the right to do. It's like, oh, we didn't do this. The fuck you didn't. You passed the bill that you guys wrote and passed the bill,
Yeah,
which allows you
and
to deny
it passed by one
responsibility.
vote.
Yeah. In what, the Senate or the House?
It passed the House by one vote.
And that's worrisome. They don't want anybody checking on them. They don't want anybody to enforce the checks and balances that are in the Constitution. And Trump, he wipes his ass with the Constitution every morning. I'm pretty sure they've got constitutional toilet paper that he wipes his ass with every day.
Hmm.
And having deniable culpability gives them an out, because now they can say, well, we're not responsible because we passed this bill giving us immunity. Do they deserve immunity? Fuck no, they don't.
No.
But they want to be able to make all these changes, and then when the American people come to them with burning pitchforks and ready to burn their house, and I didn't have anything to do with it, I'm not responsible. Y'all wrote and passed the bill. How are you not fucking responsible?
Yeah.
And it's plain and simple.
Just like this one Nebraska congressman. Yeah, just like this one Nebraska congressman. His last name's Blood. He states that he missed that part about the whole judicial thing. He said, "Oh, I didn't see that part in the bill before I voted on it."
Do you believe that for one goddamn second?
No.
So then, yeah, the case is closed. It's all about the spinelessness and the callousness of conservative Republicans who jumped on the Trump bandwagon. Everybody wants immunity, and when they're doing Trump's bidding, they want to remain like a lot of the Nazi soldiers. Oh, I was just following orders, but you passed laws that gave you that right. Instead of you owning up to it, now you can say, oh, it was Trump's idea. That's like saying, yeah, the Fuhrer told me to do it.
And you have all these, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's sounding the alarm that they're going to lose the House in 2026.
A lot of Republicans have been starting to chime up about that. It's like, we're going to die when it comes to the next elections.
Yeah, because do you know how many House seats are up for re-election in 2026?
I have no idea right now.
24. And it's all Republicans.
Yeah.
And in the Senate, you have exactly 18, 18 Republican senators up for re-election.
Oh, like have you seen the recent ad for Ron Estes?
Uh-uh.
You been watching TV?
Uh, is that the one where they're talking about how he's backing the Medicaid cuts?
He wants to keep the tax cuts alive because he's working on the sea salt bill,
Yeah,
sea-salt, and he's trying to keep job creation going. The man has done no such fucking thing.
yeah,
He's used that to enrich himself, plus his other political party participants to gain monetarily from that.
and see, just
And
like Roger Marshall.
Anybody with two fucking brain cells to rub together
Mhm.
will look at everything and like, no, this isn't working out for Kansas. And Roger Marshall's a bigger piece of shit than Ron Estes is.
Yeah, he's up for re-election next year.
And he may get voted out. It depends on how dumb the electoral is, how dumb the electorate is, because a lot of the votes they get here are from old white conservative Christian Republicans, and that's a bad thing. Like,
Yeah,
if they're that old that they don't remember what happened, then why are they voting? Because he
yes, and
because these guys sweet talked him into voting for them. I'm sorry, if you're that easily swayed, you probably shouldn't be voting because you don't have no idea what's going on.
And Lauren Boebert's up for re-election. Yeah, Lauren Boebert's up for re-election next year, but her Democratic opponent, who is a retired Air Force captain, I believe, is trouncing her in the fucking early voting polls.
The early voting polls don't matter, and you should know that.
Yeah.
It's the actual voting that matters. Like, we heard from all the political pundits during the last major election about how Kamala should win by a landslide, and she should have. I think her inability to get Joe to step out the fuck out of the way damaged her chances of winning that, along with other factors, mind you. But she didn't just say, okay, Joe, you need to step the hell out the way. In Original Sin, she was like, well, I'm going to stand behind the president until he decides to move out of the way. With 3 fucking months left, he finally steps out of the way. And did she tries to go into campaigning? No. He should have never ran again.
Yeah.
From the get-go, he should have stepped aside and said, hey, go for Kamala. Instead, no. I'm trying to save us. I can beat Donald Trump. I'm the only one who's ever done it. And factually, when you get down to the numbers, he is correct. But in context, he is not correct.
No. And, of course, you have Nancy Pelosi around that time as well. She was wanting an open primary at the Democratic convention.
Yeah, John Tapper said that Obama and Pelosi and various other high-level Democrats were trying to go for an open nominee or open nomination.
Yeah.
The problem is they didn't have anybody as strong as Kamala in the race at that point. Joe Biden moved out of the way too late. If he hadn't run and let Kamala run, I'm pretty sure she would have railroaded the entire damn thing. She would have railroaded Trump directly out of office. But when you have people, well, he's still good. He can no. A lot of the Democratic backers and power brokers weren't backing Joe Biden. And when George Clooney let his opt-ed out, anonymously, all of a sudden, tons of Democratic backers weren't backing Joe Biden. But they jumped on that boat as soon as Harris was leading it. It was like, but you've only got 3 months.
Yeah.
Give her the entire year to build that base. And yes, they confirm what we both talked about after the election of Joe Biden should have stepped down, stepped back, and been like, hey, go with Kamala. She's an excellent vice president. Why wouldn't you back her? Because you beat Trump one fucking time?
He should have stepped out right after that fucking disastrous debate.
Oh, he should have stepped back before that. That debate should have been Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You needed to have somebody competent and could campaign and grab the audience's attention. Joe decided he was going to go until the last possible fucking minute, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to hand it to her. Dude, you didn't win that debate. Trump didn't win the debate. We all lost that debate.
Yeah.
Because you refused to step down. Let go of it. I mean, at that point, during the debate, did he make you want to vote for him?
No.
In fact, before the debate, we were both pretty okay with Biden running it. We were a little wary, right?
Yeah.
Then after that debate, what was we said the exact same words.
What the fuck?
Joe Biden needs to step down.
Yep.
There is no way with that performance of the debate, any Democrat who performed like that, no candidate who performed that badly would have won an election, period.
Yeah.
There's not even a close tie for bad performances.
Yeah. As soon as they started talking, like when he said we beat Medicare, my hand went instantly to my fucking face. Like, what the fuck?
For me, it was when he started rambling. When he started rambling at the debate and didn't make a cohesive fucking paragraph. I get a sentence or two, but an entire paragraph, he flubs up and goes here. Oh, and here, way the fuck off. We don't want that kind of guy leading the country because we realize he's old, he's addled. He doesn't need to be leading anything because he's going to be like that old drunk uncle at a family reunion who's going to tell you about the Kennedy years back when he was a younger man. We don't give a shit. None of us were born during the Kennedy assassination. We weren't alive when Kennedy was up and running things. Why would we give a shit what Kennedy was doing? We can read all that in history books.
Yep.
Well, I was alive back then. Dude, we realize that you're old as shit. We get that. But we don't need 1930 or 20s thinking on this. If you can make it into a relatable story, okay, but he couldn't make a cohesive paragraph. A sentence or two, most Americans can forgive. But an entire fucking speech where he spends half it rambling on about what he did or didn't do, and he can't even keep his concentration long enough to stay on point to make a valid point, killed his chances.
I mean, even with Trump saying, I don't understand what he's saying. That was bad.
Yeah, well, name a section of that debate where Trump made any fucking sense either.
He didn't make no sense either.
Yeah,
but
Trump
as soon as Biden went rambling on,
being old hot airbags that shouldn't have been on that stage in the first damn place, and somehow one of them managed to win the presidential election. How? We don't want to hear from the drunk, narcissistic, sexist, xenophobic uncle that nobody talks to down in the hollers of Kentucky or Alabama, who talks about the good old days of slavery and how they weren't really slaves. They worked and they got food, shelter, and clothing, even though they had to make all that shit themselves.
Yeah. A district court judge blocked Trump's executive order about Harvard. I guess he signed an executive order trying to block all the foreign students coming to the United States going to Harvard. The judge blocked the executive order.
What's funnier is that Trump said that they needed to revet all these foreign students with student visas.
Yeah, they wanted their names or social media if they have criminal backgrounds.
Do you see the problem with that in the first place?
No.
You don't see the problem with him asking for all that information from them.
No. I was gonna say, like you stated last night.
Like I stated last night, what? Hello? You froze up? Dude, you're like just frozen.
Yeah. The State Department should already have that stuff when the students sign up for the student visas.
Unless you were really drunk when you were watching my short on that or my YouTube video on that, they have to be vetted by the Department of Immigration before they can get their student visa. So Trump asking for all of their information, they've already given you all of their information. You have it. What you have is some lazy ass bums running the ICE department. Did you freeze up again? I'm guessing that would be a yes, because you're not saying anything back. But yeah, in my video, I stated that they don't need the name, all the information from the visa, from the student visa application process. They have to go through that in order to get student visas.
Yes.
So when Trump is saying that, well, I need their names, numbers, addresses, all this other crap, I need all their social, they're required to do that before they get student visa status.
Yes.
So it makes no sense for him to say he wants it. He has all of it. It's not our fault Kristi Noem's a dumb, retarded bitch with a push-up bra, no less.
Yeah, and Kristi Noem said in a Truth Social post that America is falling behind in higher education because we have quote unquote all these foreigners coming over to our country trying to milk us for our education system.
Keep going with that. I'll be back in just a second. I'm still listening.
I think the only thing Kristi Noem is good at is playing dress up. One time she's an ICE agent. One time she's a police officer. One time she's a cowgirl. That's the only thing she's good at is playing dress up. I mean, especially with her comment that habeas corpus is the presidential right to deport anybody he wants.
All right, I'm still alive, but just let me know. Well, she's got 5 minutes, so you might as well
Yeah. Habeas corpus gives everybody, no matter whether you're a foreigner or an American citizen, the right to due process. But according to Christy Nome, it habeas corpus is the president's right to deport anybody he wants.
He can't deport anybody he wants. He cannot do it. It's illegal to do it that way. Just, I don't like them, deport them. Okay, so if the next president comes along and decides to deport Trump, where does Trump go to?
Hell, I hope.
Well, Iceland or Norway is probably
he goes
not
to
gonna be his
hell.
first cup of tea. But if you go by country of origin, there's only two places he can be deported to, and I guarantee you, the
Where?
first one he wouldn't be welcome at in the first goddamn place. No, because his mother is Scottish, Scotland.
Yeah.
But they hate him over there. I mean, it's not even a close. I mean, they would rather have Brexit permanently enshrined in their DNA than have Trump go back over there.
Wow.
The other country is,
I don't know, Italy?
he's not Italian, dumbass. You don't
I
know,
don't
do
know.
you?
No.
You never read up on Donald Trump, did you?
No.
Well, considering Trump used to be Trump, did that give you a clue?
I can't remember. I don't know.
Germany.
Oh.
Yeah. His grandfather
Hey,
or
are you
great grandfather
sure?
tried to be a draft dodging bitch like him, and when he arranged to try to go back to Germany, Germany said he would not be allowed in the country, and the U.S. told him if he left, he wouldn't be allowed back in our country.
Wow.
So what choice did he make? Stay in the Americas.
Maybe he should have just fucking left. Then we wouldn't have to worry about Donald Trump.
Well, if you do that, then you actually somewhat delay the atomic bomb by 2 years, meaning we have to go through 2 more years of Japanese stupidity unless somebody alters history enough and is brilliant enough to allow the atomic bomb to get built on the same timeline that we got it built in.
Now, I wanted to get your thoughts on
And
the
at the same
Golden
time,
Dome.
hold on.
Okay.
This is going somewhere, I promise.
Okay.
And then if you take the Trump family out of the equation, Nikola Tesla becomes the next Henry Ford.
Cool.
You don't read history very much, do you?
Yeah, freaking, I know Tesla cars.
No, not Tesla cars. That has nothing to do with Tesla. It was named after Nikola Tesla, but it wasn't. That's not who Nikola Tesla was historically.
I know. Yeah, he was. From what I heard, he was a very brilliant inventor.
He is the reason you have a laptop and you have electricity to the laptop.
Yep.
He is the reason we have electricity in our homes. Yes, he's that gangster. Okay, now you were saying?
I want to get your thoughts on the Golden Dome.
We already have a golden dome.
Trump wants to build a Golden Dome missile system. It kind of like Israel has, the Iron Dome.
Uh-huh.
Trump wants to build one over here in America and called it the Golden Dome.
So he wants to rename NORAD the Golden Dome.
No, he wants to actually build a missile dome.
Again, people are being conflicted about this because some people are saying he wants to build an actual Golden Dome, which is fucking stupid. And then other people are saying he wants to make it a missile defense system. The only problem with the missile defense system is we already have one. Do you know what it's called?
NORAD.
And what does it do?
It's a missile defense system.
Do we need another one just renamed by him? It works perfectly without incident. That's why we haven't had nukes hit our shores or missiles hit our shores, is because NORAD fucking exists. It's the safety net. It's the same thing that Israel has. We gave it to them. Why the hell do we need a Golden Dome? Well, because Donnie doesn't know how to fucking... he doesn't know that we already have one, or he just wants it to be named the Golden Dome to usher him in as the new golden god as our savior, which I'm never going to buy into.
Here, I'm going to share a video with you real quick.
You can try.
Days after regaining the office of president in January, Trump signed an executive order to build the Iron Dome for America, a new system to counter the next generation aerial threats America's enemies can use against it. The May 20 announcement simply reveals that the system is far closer to being a reality than anybody expected.
Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever.
So the US plan is clear. Make itself immune to long-range missile threats that Russia and China present. That leads to two questions. Why now? And what's known so far? Starting with the second question, Space Force General Michael Gutlein, who is the Vice Chief of Space Operations, delivers the most succinct answer. Gutlein is the man Trump has assigned to make the Golden Dome a reality, and he had this to say about the project.
Our adversaries have been quickly modernizing their nuclear forces, building out ballistic missiles capable of hosting multiple warheads, building out hypersonic missiles capable of attacking the United States within an hour and traveling at 6,000 miles an hour, building cruise missiles that can navigate around our radar and our defenses, and building submarines that can sneak up on our shores, and worse yet, building space weapons.
Translation, Russia and China are getting stronger, and what the US has right now isn't enough to counter that strength. Gutlein isn't wrong. Just a couple of weeks ago, China was hinting that it had hypersonic missiles capable of traveling at speeds of up to Mach 20. Those missiles may even be launchable from satellites, ground-based launchers, and other platforms, giving China plenty of options for attacking the US. Russia is also deep into the hypersonic game. National Defense says that it's currently developing at least 3 hypersonic weapons that are either already operational or are quickly approaching operational status. Russia has worked on these systems since...
What?
What is this from?
Let's see. The military show.
Okay, why are they making news out of something that's been in effect for more than 60 years?
Well, I know the NORAD's been around that long.
Yeah.
But Trump wants to copy Israel's Iron Dome.
Where do you think Israel got the Iron Dome from?
Us.
And what do you think we did with it?
We built it for them.
No, we copied off of our existing off of the program we had in existence at the time. We gave it to them and then improved our own system to NORAD. So again, why do we need this golden dome when we already have one?
I
Because
know.
Trump wants to be fucking responsible for it. He wants to name his golden fucking goose because he's a fucking idiot.
It's at least
Well, I'm
2018
doing all
when
this.
Russian
I'll
President
name it.
Vladimir
No, you're a horrible fucking human being who doesn't know shit. We already have a national defense system. It's called NORAD. You fucking retard. You know, for a guy who doesn't drink at all, he sure fucking comes up with ideas like he's a drunk uncle at a bachelor party, right?
Yeah. Now, do you know? Yeah, he's got Don Jr. and Eric out there doing all this stuff with crypto. He is basically he's profiting from this presidency. He's getting $1 billion a fucking month from these crypto exchanges that he's doing
Yeah.
through Eric and Don Jr.
Yeah. This surprises you?
No, it fucking doesn't.
He has his own fake currency.
Yes, and I've watched several news shows about that crypto dinner that he put on. Yeah, and quite a few of the quote unquote investors are saying that Trump wasn't even fucking there for the crypto dinner, and the food
Wanted
sucked.
their money.
Yeah, they said the food sucked. They were the only thing that was served at as a drink at the dinner was water.
Yeah.
And quite a few of the investors are saying now they wish they would have never went to that quote unquote crappy ass dinner.
They were sold on cryptocurrency that Trump was selling. Trump is out to get all of their money and then do whatever the fuck he wants to with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the enigma of Trump. It's like, how the fuck are these people who have been to college, graduated with their master's degrees in God knows what, they're rich as fuck, and they're still dumb as shit in believing that Donald's is actually going to include them on any goddamn thing. He has his own fake cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more than that do you need?
Yes, and you have like we were talking about earlier, you have his son Barron, who's going to NYU, but Melania is living in their apartment there in New York, just so she could be closer to Barron.
Yeah, this surprises you too?
No, personally, I think she needs to take her tit out of his mouth.
Cribbing my lines again, are you? All right, man. I got to get off here because we're going on 11 o'clock, and I have to work on like you tomorrow. So, peace out. All right.
I'm ending the live stream too. So, you have a good night. And is there anything you want to tell the listeners on what you have coming up?
I am going to be doing more social media on Skylight, which is an offshoot of Blue Sky. I'll be posting more material there. It's a startup, much like TikTok, only it's not stupid, and you don't have a bunch of fucking hungry assholes. I'll probably be doing another TikTok live here this week, and I'm hoping to put up another YouTube video at some point this week. Look me up as a Skeptical Scotsman. Skeptical with a C, not a K. But that's all I got right now.
All right. You have a good night, brother.
Yep. Have fun.
And bye-bye. This is a crazy world we're living in. It really is. This is the Patriot Podcast. Y'all have a good night.